Buenas tardes. I got my cup of coffee. Finished teaching for the day, and afternoon cup of coffee I've done with regularity. Pretty much this was like my pandemic gift to myself. Hi, Carrie. Just a little moment of and I really haven't stopped. It's just one of my simple pleasures. Do a little decaf in the afternoon, but hi, thanks for joining. I'm just gonna jump right in. I don't really have a script or anything. I just know that it's been a minute since I've gotten to interact here on Instagram Live. And I've been taking the summer, as many of you have, to just chillax a little bit in terms of, hey everybody, thanks for joining. Not like being so tied to my posting schedule, posting when I felt like it, right? Posting, there's some intentionality of course, but if it felt good, I did it. And if it didn't, I didn't. You know, there's just a different rhythm in the summer, and I still teach full time. But in terms of just like, oh my goodness, I need to schedule out all these posts and do the thing, I gave myself the gift of just pulling back a little bit. And I know that many of you have to. Bravo. And if you're in the hustle, bravo to you too. I know you've got a plan and doing all the things. You see me share on here a lot of what I do with my students, as well as what I do for me personally. You know, I think it's super encouraging to hear voice teachers share their music and hear them sing and do their videos too. And I just applaud that. I think it's almost part of selling our product as a vocal coach, you know, in terms of what we do. But also it's a gift. It's a gift to share music. And I've been on a journey in the past year and a half, as I gather many of you have, where the pandemic or any certain hardship that you've had to face in the past year and a half has sort of forced you to address some things, right? That were just bubbling up to the surface, as my sister-in-law says. It's always been there, you just had to deal with it, right? And the same was for me in this past year and a half. From a personal standpoint, I was working through a lot of, if heaven forbid, if something happened and I was never able to sing again, something happened and I was never able to play music again, who am I? You know, what is my identity without singing? Because that's what I've been known for almost all my life. And I had to start asking that question, who am I? You know, basically, am I what I do? And no, we're not, right? We're not what we do. Because if those things were taken away with us, we're still a person, we're still a whole person. And that question really started this journey of exploration for me into, okay, well, why do I do what I do? Why do I love to sing? You know, why do I teach? You know, I know what my teaching philosophy is, but is it changing? Is it still the same? You know, how has it evolved? How have I evolved as just a person? I kind of joke and tell my husband it's, you know, my own little midlife crisis of sorts, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I've been on a very intentional journey asking these questions. And I share this because I find that even in my private conversations with some of my colleagues and students, that they're asking the same questions too. And so here, part of my journey is that so much of my singing, I grew up in church. I'm a woman of faith. And at a very early age, when I first started discovering that I could sing, I was like 6th, 7th grade, started discovering that I loved it, that I was pretty good at it, and that I loved all kinds of music. I would, you know, shut my door for hours, just like my 12-and-a-half-year-old is doing in her room, singing, listening to all sorts of music. Back in the day, making mixtapes, all the things. And if my parents just left me in my room, I would have just stayed there forever. Only come out to, you know, use the bathroom and eat. But at a very early age, this messaging that the greatest value of your voice and your giftedness comes if you only sing in church. And, there was this ultimatum, I guess you could say. And maybe it was set out of fear or care or whatever it was set out of. That kind of programming started forming everything musically that I did from there on out. Singing in church is great. Please don't hear me, or singing in your place of worship is fine. The imbalance in that type of programming for me is that all my self-worth was wrapped up in that. So then if I wasn't doing that, my art really didn't matter as much. And that's just not true. It's taken me most of my life to uncover that, and to uncover. Now, granted, I was a music major. I sang all sorts of stuff, enjoyed singing all sorts of stuff, right? And even when I did and had exuberant experiences and joyful experiences surrounding that, again, it was always measured up against, but it's not church music, And that was the measuring stick in my life, and maybe in your life it was something completely different. Maybe in your life, you grew up in the theater. So if you weren't on stage, maybe that was the epitome of having reached your artistic potential, or that you were exercising it to its fullest, So again, insert whatever it was that was the measuring stick. But in my journey, I've been on an intentional break from singing in that platform to be able to work through all these things and answer these questions, right? And in a season where really I've just obviously been pouring into my students and making sure that they had opportunities to perform digitally, and here recently, with certain restrictions lifting, being able to do live performances, and that's been joyful and fulfilling as well. It's been joyful and fulfilling to share videos of me singing, right? Because that's been my outlet to continue on my artistic journey. So I give you the preface to talk about a singing engagement that I did on Sunday at a local restaurant. I had so much fun. And you're like, woohoo, yay, Melissa, you had fun. It's important that that's really the only reason. If that's reason enough to do it, it was worth it. Again, because I've spent most of my life justifying every artistic decision I've ever made, right? Well, if I'm singing this, it's to do this, and to shine a light on this, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Seldom has there been a moment since my childhood that I've just sung for the sheer enjoyment of it, right? And so, as we're sharing our coffee together, when was the last time you sang just for the fun of it? Make that YouTube video, Sing that karaoke track. Do it, when was the last time that you used your art just for sheer joy and just because you felt like it, This engagement on Sunday was it was really neat because it's music that I was singing in Spanish. I did a bilingual set, and there's songs like that I don't really get to sing often. I'm Puerto Rican, and I grew up, again, listening to those songs, and as an adult enjoying Latin music, but I don't get to sing in Spanish like that very often. And there was just something about that connection and, singing in my native language. I learned Spanish first as a child, before I learned English. I guess I kind of if I have to go back in my mind's eye, it was simultaneous, but it's still the language of my childhood. Being able to sing that music and perform it, and also it just felt so homey doing that. I think there was a redemptive factor to it in the sense that I've been trying to deprogram that my ultimate sense of value and worth is entwined into what I'm doing, and specifically if I'm singing in that type of setting, like church setting. So to do this just for the fun of it and just to share from a joyful heart, I would say it was almost like a spiritual experience in the sense of I didn't feel like I had to justify any of my decisions, right? Obviously, in order to do something with excellence, of course, I'm thinking about audience, what's popular, what's fun to listen to is dinner music, all the things, and what's culturally relevant. But to be honest, like every single song on that set list was just pure fun for me. Pure fun. And boy, did I battle insecurities leading up to that. Hello, just like we all do. I've been telling my students all week, your teacher was able to practice so many things that she preaches to you this week in terms of how to handle our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual preparation leading up to a performance. I had butterflies, right? I was nervous, and I battled all sorts of insecurities. I'm a singer first and a piano player second. Ooh, is your piano player gonna be that great? Like insecurities surrounding that. Insecurities surrounding people that I know love me for me, and whether or not they were gonna enjoy it just because they don't speak Spanish, all those things. Did I practice enough? That type of pressure. I'm the oldest and the only female in a Hispanic family. Hello. I mother hen everything. But it also makes me good at my job, right? Like I'm an encourager and a cheerleader, and I enjoy doing that, but boy, do I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so thankfully through a lot of inner work this past year, including therapy, learning to put strategies into place to set me up for success, right? That obviously from an artistic standpoint, yeah, I was doing the work and I was rehearsing, and it's super important to do that. But I also put systems in place that helped safeguard me going down that road of justification or of even like self-condemnation. Again, like, are you sure? That type of, dialogue that happens in our brain sometimes. And having put those systems into place, for instance, I wrote an affirmation on a Post-it that I taped to my piano stand with a breathing, like included an inhale and exhale, right? There was a lot of things I could have taken care of in my home, just normal stuff like folding laundry or things like that leading up to the afternoon engagement. And thankfully my rock star husband, who's also my best friend, was like, nope, don't do that. Are you sure you want to do that? That's probably not a good idea. Just, again, people in my life who were helping me to put those healthy boundaries into place. So in your artistic journey too, ask yourself, why do I do what I do? And if you don't have the answer right away, it's okay. It's okay. This has been a journey, and it continues to be for me. Why are you doing what you're doing? If you couldn't do that thing anymore, what's your purpose? Like, what do you do? For me, I finally answered that question just in saying, I'm a vessel of encouragement and creativity. So that can have so many different forms, not just music, right? And who are the people in your corner that are enabling you to put those healthy practices into place, right? It takes a village. So find your village. Maybe as you discover this, you might have some heartbreaking realizations that the people you thought were part of your village aren't ready to go on that journey with you. And that's okay. You'll grieve it. You'll be a little sad about it. I've definitely had to come to that realization in the past year. But boy, the people that I know are in my corner, there's no doubt. Even in those insecurities that I was mentioning about my gig, about, oh no, are they really going to enjoy this? They don't speak Spanish. So what? These people I know have my back. And they understand just how much this means to me, right? Just from a life journey perspective. And at the end of the day, friends, like, it really was a party. It was pure joy, which is why I wanted to title this live just Singing with Joy. And maybe some of us have lost it, and maybe you're in a journey of finding it again, and that's okay. That is okay. Maybe you're just like, no, la 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 la, not ready. That's okay too. That's okay too. But here's the most important part of this journey, is being authentic. Like, we can sniff out when somebody is putting on an air versus somebody truly being themselves, right? I had a friend and colleague of mine, totally different industry, but we both support each other's platforms on social media. And we were talking about our use of it for our businesses. She paid me the highest compliment, I think, that those of us using this type of platform would hope to hear. And she said, I love what you post. I never look at a post and think, like, that doesn't seem like her. You know, she was complimenting the authenticity. And isn't that sometimes our biggest battle with using this right here is, are we being real? Like, you know, when I make a reel, you know, and I'm using this popular audio, you know, that everyone's using, you know, am I doing it because I really feel like I've got something to say with it? Or, you know, do I feel the pressure of just doing what everyone else is doing? And so this journey of finding joy in your artistry, it can only lead to more authenticity. And that's a great thing. It's a liberating thing. I can tell you that now, and I'll try not to get emotional, that now after a year and a half of doing this really hard but necessary heart work, I can see the fruit, right? I can experience the ripple effects in my singing, even in my voice. I remember taking a voice lesson in the height of a lot of hard heart work that I was doing in therapy. And the entire hour, my coach was spending time trying to relax my neck and my larynx. And there were moments where we achieved results, the results he wanted. But then I realized, my gosh, my body right now is just signaling to me that it's not time for that. It's carrying a lot and processing a lot. And so I could hear it in my singing. When we got to the gig on Sunday, there were moments and even notes that before have been challenging that I felt like I was able to sing with more freedom, right? So just bringing it back from a practical application standpoint, I am feeling the relief and release and freedom and untangling that I'm feeling in my own heart and journey and health, you know, from a mental and emotional health standpoint. I'm starting to hear it too in my voice, and just so body intuitive, right? With what my body's asking of me, what my voice is asking of me, and what I need to refrain from, right? This whole journey of singing with joy and singing with authenticity will teach you. It'll teach you how to pay attention, right? Pay closer attention to what your body, what your voice wants of you. And yeah, my friends, that's my personal journey with where I'm at. I could go on, but maybe later on I'll put it in a blog post or something. But it's been good. The end result is good. There's been so much that I feel like I've been able to just, that has fallen off my shoulders. I'm not carrying some of the burdens that before I was carrying. In my own practice as a coach, in my own artistry, and even in my personal relationships, be it with family and close friends. And so there are so many benefits, you know, that will touch so many different areas of your life. And I think that's why we're hearing more and more conversations, even on this platform, and even in the vocal teaching, vocal coaching community, about encouraging our artists to do the same and meeting them where they are. And doing a little deprogramming even of systems or ideologies or philosophies that we've just carried for years, thinking that we were doing the right thing. And maybe they worked for us in another season of life, but it's time for something else. And that's okay. It's okay. It's a scary realization sometimes, but find your people. Find your people. And even if you have questions about that, feel free to send me a DM or comment on this. I'm going to go ahead and post this here in a moment. But thanks for joining me for a little afternoon of cuppa. Thank you, Carrie, so much for your encouragement, and anybody who's joined. And if you're watching this on the replay and want to comment, make sure you include #replay just so I know when you were joining. And yeah, I felt this a lot with singing classical music. Yeah. I hear you, sister. I hear you. There's a lot of that going on. I was classically trained too, you know, and I tell my students, you know, like if that's the lane you want to be in, awesome. We can totally do that, right? But I know in my studio in particular, I'm not handing someone caro mio bien unless they ask for it, unless they're ready for something like that, unless what they feel that's their authentic self, right? And so, yeah, I think this is a good conversation to continue later on. Let me know if you have any ideas or things you want to discuss, or if you want to join me for a live to discuss some of these things. That would be awesome. I think it's important for our community, again, in holding up the banner of authenticity, to share about this, to share when we're ready how it's affected us personally in our journey. And then for our clients and our students to also know and see the humanity in their teachers and coaches, and see them doing the thing, right? Doing the thing. Good afternoon, my friends. Have an awesome day and an awesome week.